Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to an EDC video. Now obviously you guys are used to seeing me when I'm out in the woods because I work outdoors, I'm outdoors all the time. Well, you might see me if I'm perhaps going further afield on my recent trip to Dartmoor, and you see the gear that I use. Not only do you see me using it, but also from time to time I'll do a loadout video showing you exactly what kit I happen to be using at the time. Now I'm not out in the woods all of the time. Like you, I travel to and from work. I spend time out shopping and doing family things. So I'm not always in the woods. Quite often I'm travelling in vehicles or I'm moving through towns. So what I want to go through in this video is what I carry with me pretty much all of the time. The stuff that I carry on my person and the stuff that I carry with me when I'm going into towns, or just stuff that I need at hand. Stuff that over the years has proved itself to be very useful to me, and I thought, well, it might be useful to you too. So as I kind of alluded to there, there's two very separate parts to what I carry. There's what I carry actually on my person, those items, those bits and pieces which I find invaluable, and then there's the stuff that's usually sort of within an arm's reach. If I'm travelling in a vehicle, it's usually between the passenger seat and the driver's seat, tucked in between the two, so that as I get out of the vehicle, if I need to, because I'm moving away from the vehicle, I can pick it up, put it into whichever bag I'm carrying before moving off. So there's two quite distinct parts. What I'm going to do is we'll look at them in those two parts. So we'll start off with the stuff that I carry on my person. So we'll start off with the items that I'm actually carrying on my person, and they tend to centre around whichever trousers or shorts I'm wearing. The first item, that's held on my trouser belt. And this is one of my EDC light pouches. It's a simple pouch. It comes with two poppers on it so that it can be adjusted to different sized knives. Because I've found that over the years it's always handy to have some form of cutting tool. I've used various ones, and indeed I still do use various ones. My one that I've used the most is probably my German army knife, which is a great knife made by Victorinox. It's got the saw, it's got the screwdriver, it's got a corkscrew, and it's got a main cutting blade as well as an awl, and it's all round a very useful item. At the moment, for about the last year or so, I've been carrying one of these, and this is a little Victorinox Farmer. It has, well, some very good blades. Obviously it's got its main cutting blade, standard size. Again, this is non-locking, so it's UK legal. So as well as your main cutting blade, you've also got your tin opener and small screwdriver, which is surprisingly useful, both of those tools. The tin opener I've had to use a few times. In an emergency, if I needed to get food opened, yeah, a great item. The little screwdriver, well, I've used that way more than I've actually used the tin opener, so that again is a very useful feature. We've also got on there at the other end your regular screwdriver, again flat head with a cap lifter, and there's a wire stripper on the bottom there. So it is, yeah, pretty useful. You're more likely nowadays to need to change a plug or open something up with screws than you are likely to skin a rabbit. So having tools like this make a lot of sense. Obviously I'm out of doors quite a lot, so a little wood saw is a very useful addition. This also works very well with the ferro rod too. And then the final tool on there, carefully closing that one away, is a reamer. And that reamer Very good, well, putting extra holes in belts, all manner of different things you can use this for. I've used it quite a bit for bark craft, where I'm boring holes into bark, boring holes into wood for various things. It is surprisingly useful. The one that I'm used to normally sits on the back about here. This one at the front I was not sure about. I was worried about when you're pushing down, is that going to fold in? But so far it's actually been pretty good. Again, you just need to apply a little bit of common sense when using it. So that is my main cutting tool, and through the course of the day, pretty much every day, it gets used a lot. So Victronox Farmer. I've also got on here my ferro rod, which is just one of the standard, like my fire ones. It's one of these ones with a recycled coconut handle. And having a ferro rod with you, it just gives you that option that you can light things. It's a form of ignition. Of the items in this pouch, this is probably the least used. That said, it still gets a fair amount of use. And then lastly, well, I find it's useful to have some form of light. And this is a little Olight i3T. It's a very simple torch. It runs on a single AAA battery, like so. And although rechargeables are very, very good, and a lot of my torches are rechargeable, I do like to have that option where if I need to, I can buy a battery, or in an emergency I can break one out the back of a remote control or whatever. As I said, it's a nice simple little torch. It's only got 2 modes of operation, and they're all operated through the tail switch. So it goes single brightness, just there, and if you press it again, it comes up with double that brightness. It also comes with a little clip on there, and it's one of those clips that you can clip something in that way or in that way. That I found very useful, because that little clip on the end there, and the weight of this means it can be clipped to the peak of my baseball cap to give me hands-free lighting. I've had that one a few years. It is a good bit of kit. They're not terribly expensive, but it does work very, very well. And as I said, those 3 items together sit on my belt, and they go pretty much everywhere with me. So that's my EDC pouch. So my next item, because I'm carrying something sharp, you should carry some means of mending yourself if you cut yourself. So I've got my little cuts kit. This is designed to be probably just slightly smaller than a wallet, and it sits in a pocket. The idea being you've always got a few essential items on you if you should cut yourself. Now I've designed this one so that it's brightly coloured, so it can be used as a marker. It's got reflective tape on there, so it can be used as a marker after dark. It's got these bits of tape on the top, and what these allow you to do is, if necessary, open it with one hand. When you've got it in your pocket, all you have to do is remember to put it in so that the tapes are uppermost, and you just reach in, pull it out using the tapes. You then just flip over to one, and then with the other side you simply bite that with your teeth, and that allows you to open it up, and in there we have our basic cuts kit items. So in this side I've got some wipes, I've got one of the little blister plasters, I've got a couple of the little wound closures in there, and just 2 or 3 little plasters, particularly the ones for doing the ends of your fingers. What I've also got in the other side, well, it's all manner of little things. So I have a small metal whistle. Whistles don't need batteries, and they can get attention. They don't weigh anything, they never go wrong. But blowing this, that's going to certainly make everybody notice you. So if I need to get people's attention, I can do so using my whistle. Also in here I've got a very small set of Victorinox scissors, and you can buy these. As you can see, they're very small and lightweight. We have a little finger loop on that side, they're sprung, and they're surprisingly easy to use. Obviously I didn't want something particularly sharp in there, so I made myself a little cover just out of a piece of webbing just to keep them in. On the other end of that, I've got a large safety pin. A safety pin can be used for all sorts of things. I can use the pointy bit if I need to for getting splinters and things out. The actual pin itself, well, that can be used in lots of ways, whether it's pinning clothing together or pinning a hole in a bag. The uses of a safety pin are many. You can even use it if you need to elevate a limb. You just pin that to the cuff, and then you then pin that cuff to the shoulder, so you've then got a way of elevating an arm. It's quite a useful item. What I've also got on there is a small set of brightly coloured tweezers, again for lifting bits out of wounds, pulling splinters out, stings, you name it. A little pair of tweezers is a super good idea. Also in there, I've got one of these little squeeze lights. Throw out a surprisingly good amount of light for something so small, and you can put them in there. The batteries seem to last for quite a long time. You can put it in there and forget about it. This one's got a little switch, so if you need to put it on and leave it on, you can do, but most of the time it just operates as a squeeze light. So as soon as you squeeze it, it goes on. As soon as you let go, it goes off. So a small form of light. Also in here, just a little standard lighter, one of the little cheap ones that's reliable. It's got an adjustable flame, and it's surprising how regularly that one gets used. I've also got Gorilla Tape on there, good for fixing things, good for starting fires. And then tucked in between, wound around there, I've got a whole load of dental floss, because it's super strong, super compact cordage, and there's also a couple of good sized needles. Again, if I need to sew things, repair things, put buttons back on, you name it, that little kit can be used for that. The last two items, well, almost. I've got a little aid memoir card in there. This is just a little emergency first aid reminder on there. And then I've got this, and in that is, oh, it's a Fresnel lens. My eyesight is not getting any better, so having a Fresnel lens is quite a useful thing. But also tucked in there is cash. Some form of emergency cash. Well, you never know when you're going to need it, and because it's stored in there, you're less likely to use it than you would if it was in your wallet. Ones that are in your wallet, well, they have a funny habit of being spent, especially if you've got kids. So one of those tucked away in there, super useful, and it's always there in readiness. The amount, well, that's entirely up to you. I just tend to keep 2 or 3 £10 notes in there just in case. So my next couple of items, again these live in my pockets. Got a bandana, and this is a 100% cotton one. So many different uses, but particularly if I'm laying stuff out like my cuts kit, I tend to open this out on the ground, and then I can empty the cuts kit without fear of losing any of it. Also used as a sweat rag, used to protect my hand if I'm taking stuff off the fire that's a bit warm and my leather gloves not to hand, I can just use this over my hand. So again, very useful item, brightly coloured again, so that if I need to use it as a marker, I can do. This is simply just tied onto things and it's there. Nice bright colour so it gets people's attention. Also in there as a spectacle wearer, for ever having to get smears, moisture, water, etc., rain off my glasses, which is one of the things that I use this for. But it can also be used just for wiping stuff down. If it's wet, if I get into the car and I'm absolutely soaked, I can just pat myself down with this. And again, this lives in my trouser pocket. So again, a good couple of items that tend to live in my pockets, ready for those little emergencies. So next up, well, I'm quite old fashioned. I like to wear a watch. I think it's essential to know what time it is, how long it takes you to get from point A to point B. And so a reliable watch is a very, very good item to have. Obviously it can also be used as an improvised compass. So a good robust watch that isn't too flash, isn't too delicate, and that you don't mind damaging is a very good idea. Now this one, I've had this one, it was a 40th birthday present, so I've had it coming up for 20 years, and this is a Citizen EcoDrive chronograph. Because it's an EcoDrive, it runs on sunlight, so you never need to change the battery. This one has seen an awful lot of use over the years. I've never had a problem, it's never lost time, it's never let water in, and I've used it in water a lot. It is a great watch, and they're not ridiculously expensive. You can still pick these up. I think Argos still sell them, and they are a great item, and I would heartily recommend them. If perhaps this isn't your style, my other one that I use a lot is one of these, and this is one of the tough solar watches made by Casio. Again, runs on sunlight. These are very cheap. I think when I bought this one it was £30. I think they are now £35. You've got your standard analog, but you've also got a little section in there, a little window, which is your digital, and it does stopwatch, alarms, timers, all of that as well. The original strap, it got broken, and it was almost as expensive to replace the strap as it was to buy a new watch, but that would be wasteful. So what I did instead was I just made an animal style band, a bit of webbing and a little bit of velcro. I also included a loop for a Swanto clipper compass, and that little package there weighs virtually nothing, doesn't cost a great deal, and yet this is probably the lightest, most reliable watch I've ever had. Really great item. It's not too big. I got given a one of the G-Shock series, well, I think it was one of the Gravities, and it looks similar, but it's so much bigger and heavier compared to this. This is a great item. If you're on a budget and you need a really good robust watch that's not going to draw a lot of attention to itself but will function well, this is what to go for. The Casio Tough Solar. So on my keys, and everyone carries keys, so it makes sense to carry a few extra items on there. Nothing too much, you don't want anything that's too heavy and too bulky. So on this one I've got a mini pry bar, which, as well as for opening tins of paint and lifting the occasional nail, has also been used for prying open windows, to get out, not to get in, I hasten to add. Boxes, all manner of different things. Also on there I've got one of the little folding tin openers with a bit of tape wrapped around it, because that hooked edge can come out. And again, something that you wouldn't think you use that often, but at work I've used this a few times. On my car keys, well, if you're travelling in a vehicle, there's always a chance that vehicle can go wrong, or you could be in a crash, or you're travelling on a road and you could see a crash. For that reason I've got one of these, and this is a Rescue Me tool. Very lightweight, but a very practical idea. What you've got is an enclosed cutting edge, and that is designed for cutting seat belts. All we do is pull that off, and there you slide that over the seat belt. This edge protects the person that you're freeing from the seat belt. And then on this end, well, you've got a little tungsten carbide tip with a spring behind it, and all you do is push this against the corner of one of the side windows, not the windscreen, push down, and the little tungsten carbide spike will help to shatter the windscreen. As I said, you work in the corner, push it in, and it cracks it out. So if you're travelling in a vehicle of any description, and we all do nowadays, you should carry one of these. So that's what I actually carry on my person. The next thing we're going to look at is the stuff that, well, it kind of helps in everyday life. Perhaps it's a bit too big, a bit too heavy to carry actually on my person, but I can carry it with me in my vehicle, and I carry it in such a way that I can then move it into a bag, whether it's my day sack, whether it's my haversack, whatever it is I happen to be using in my bag that day. I can literally just pick this one item up, shove it all in, and I know that all of those items are all together in one place. Not every day, but from time to time, I need a selection of items that are going to help me with my everyday life, and that goes into this. And this, it's like a little mini tool roll. Indeed, that is what it's called. This is made by a company called RoughTimba, and they sent me this a while ago, and I was like, well, do I really need it? It actually was going to be where I stored things like my my woodworking tools, my little ones for while I'm out, which I've got one which I made that's very, very similar and a similar size. But then I thought, well, actually, there are all those bits and pieces that I use and I move from bag to bag and vehicle to vehicle. It would be good to have them all in one place. So that's what this ended up being used for. As I said, it's made by a company called RoughTimba. It's made from like a waxed cotton canvas, and it's got a nylon webbing strap that runs around the outside. It fastens with one of these, a G hook, and if we open it up, the G hook is quite nice and secure, comes undone. That is not going to come undone accidentally. And it holds it in place very, very nicely. Opening it up, what you've got is essentially, well, a tool roll. At one end, you've got a zippered pocket. You've then got 3 pockets in at the back, and you've also got these various loops running down there that hold a selection of different items, and that is what we're going to look at next. So, as I said, in here is a selection of items that over the years I've found are useful through the course of, well, a working week. I might not use them all every day, but there are times when I do need these, and if I haven't got them, well, it makes life a lot harder. Having them all in this roll makes it an awful lot simpler. So we'll start in the zip pouch at the end. In here I've got various charging cables. If it's not me that needs them, quite often it's other people that need them, and if you haven't got them, well, suddenly you've got a bit of a problem. So charging cables, to keep mine all neatly bundled up, well, these are little hair bands. The joys of having daughters with long hair is they have hair bands, and they're everywhere, and they make ideal things for keeping cables nice and tidy. Also in here I've got a selection of little mini cable ties. Again, you never know when you're going to need them for holding things together, but these are a super useful little bit of kit. As well as those, I've also got in here a little set of little bits that fit into my multi-tool. So I've got a selection of screwdrivers, hexes, etc., all ones that I found are quite useful. I've also got a small steel ruler, which is a good straight edge for when I need one, and a little backup Fresnel lens. Also in here, I've got some refills for my pen, but more of that later on. Next up, cordage. You can never have too much cordage. So I've got some micro paracord in there. Again, a nice bright colour. As you can see, I like bright colours. You can see where you've left it, etc. But this cord is super strong, super easy to tie, and it holds very, very well. There's 10 meters of cord there, so it's a good, useful amount to have. Next up, in this little pocket at the back, I've got a little mini power bank, and this is a Inui one. Not terribly big, smaller than my phone, slightly fatter than my phone, but it will charge my phone up fully pretty quickly 2 or 3 times. So a power bank works very, very well for charging your phone, but also for any other electrical items you might be carrying. So a power bank, a good item to carry in a modern EDC. As well as that, I also carry, this is an old school Leatherman Wave. See, it's got all of those super useful items on it. You've got your pliers, wire cutters, you've got serrated edges, plain cutting edges, various screwdrivers, all held in there. To go with that, what I've also got is this, and this is one of those adapters that very simply just clips into the end like so. I can then take any of the bits from my hex bit if I need a screwdriver, and I can lock those into there. This is adjustable, so you can also work it into angles, and it gives you this extra leverage as well. So a really good, useful little item. I think you can definitely still get the Wave. I think they've updated it, and this adapter you can get updated as well. But this is an old school one. I've probably had this one since about 2000, and it's a great item, and it makes a lot of sense to carry. Obviously it's got locking blades, so it's not something you want to carry on your person. However, I think if it's tucked away in something like this, in the bottom of a bag or in your vehicle, yeah, it might be a slightly better defence for you. Also in here, backup lighting. So here I've got my O-light. Now this is the S2R Baton 2. A great torch, plenty powerful, lots of modes, varying brightnesses, strobes, a great item. And I've had this one for a few years now, and I think it is a very good torch. They are expensive. There are other torches out there that are probably equally as good, but I've got this one. I've got no need to go out and buy another one to compare it. I've also got in here, moving on down, well, having some form of pen with you is always useful, whether it's a ballpoint or a Sharpie. Highlighters or markers, all of those are useful. I've got sent this about 12 months ago, and I'm not keen on tactical pens. Tactical pens tend to have lumps and bumps and things which are designed to inflict pain, which you don't really want that if it's stuffed in your pocket. What I wanted was a good, strong, usable pen, and what I've got here, this Mark Smith titanium pen, is just that. It's a Sharpie you can operate with one hand, and it's brilliant. It really is very good. All the qualities of a Sharpie in a much stronger body. And this, well, you can unscrew the end and take out these retractable Sharpie refills. Screw it back up tight again and you're good to go. So I carry various colours. I've got a red, I've got a blue, and then I've got a highlighter one. At the other end here is also an adapter that takes standard Papermate refills. So this is a very, very versatile writing tool. Also, it's got some pretty good self-defense applications because it is so strong. It makes an ideal fidget if you're one of those people who likes fidgets. Yeah, a super item. An expensive bit of kit. I've seen them over on Henny Haynes, but it's called a Mark Smith titanium marker. Great item. I heartily encourage you to look one of these up if you're in the market for a very good quality, very reliable writing piece. And then finally, well, just a little cheap notebook that slots in the back there. You never know when you've got to take notes or when you just need a bit of paper to scratch a number down or some measurements down, and this is absolutely ideal. I haven't gone for a waterproof one, I've just gone for a standard cheaper one. As I said, this is normally in my vehicle or in a bag, so I'm not that worried about getting one of the Write in the Rain units. This is just a simple little cheapy spiral bound notebook. So there you go, those are my current EDC items that I am carrying. All very tried and tested. Even the stuff that I've been sent through to test out, I've been using for at least, well, I think the Lockby roll I've probably had about 5 months, and the Mark Smith pen I've had for 12 months. So, and in that time I formed a very good opinion of those. All the other items are all very tried and tested items. My bags, etc., that I carry, well, perhaps I'll go into those in a later video. But those items, the toolkit and the items I carry, my EDC pouch and the items in my pocket, is what I'm actually carrying. Obviously some of you will agree with what I've put. Some people say, oh, there's not enough first aid items, no, you haven't got enough power cable, whatever. But feel free to comment in the box down below. So that's enough of the EDC stuff. I've got a few other videos coming out that I'm working on at the moment. There is a very good little DIY project coming up which is relatively easy to do, and certainly with winter coming up it's one that you're going to want to know. So keep your eye on the channel for that one. I'm also still working on the headlight review, where we compare lots of different headlights to see how they fare against each other, from the lower cost ones up to the higher cost ones. So keep your eye on the channel for that one as well. Also, if you check out the description box down below, there's a link over there to my Etsy shop, and over there, well, you'll find my cuts kits over there. There is also my brew pouches. Again, they're nice brightly coloured. They make ideal not only for your fire kit, which is what I tend to keep in mind in my brew kit, but all manner of other items. If you're looking for good brightly coloured bags for your EDC, then they might be just the item for you. I'm also going to be doing another run of the EDC light pouches, and with the winter coming up, we're also going to revisit our survival scarves. So we're going to go back to do them in the original green, the standard width version, not the extra wide ones. But more of that later. Anyway, keep your eye on the shop, keep your eye on the channel. I've been Neil, and until next time, stay safe in the woods.